Imagine raising 3 sons for 30 long years, loving them, feeding them, sacrificing everything for them, only to find out one day that none of them are truly yours. That your own boss, the man you trusted, swapped your baby the night you gave birth. This is the story of a mother's heartbreak, a stolen child, and the shocking truth that changed everything. Stay with me till the end, because what happens next will leave you speechless, and might just change the way you see motherhood forever. Broken heart. My hands trembled as I held the DNA results. The paper shook so hard, I could barely read the words. My eyes darted across the page, my heart pounding so loudly it drowned every sound around me. Not biologically related. Those 3 words cut through me like a knife. 30 years, 30 long years, and now this? I looked up at the 3 grown men I had raised, my sons, standing before me with confused eyes. "Mom, what's going on?" Michael asked, his voice trembling. I couldn't answer. I couldn't breathe. The walls felt like they were closing in on me. All those years of birthdays, school runs, Christmas mornings, and bedtime stories, gone in one sentence. My whole world, my motherhood, had just shattered. And then it hit me. My boss, Mr. Walter. The one who visited me at the hospital after I gave birth. The one who looked so nervous that day. My knees went weak. I clutched the table for support as memories started flooding back. The hospital. The confusion. The nurse whispering something I couldn't hear. The sudden power outage during delivery. Something happened that night. And now, after 30 years, I was about to find out the truth. But before I could speak, before I could even open my mouth to explain, my phone rang. It was an unknown number. I answered with shaky hands. A weak, trembling voice spoke. "Mrs. Dawson, this is Nurse Carol. I used to work at St. Luke's Hospital 30 years ago. I have something you need to know. It's about your baby." My heart dropped. I gripped the phone tighter, whispering, "What about my baby?" The line crackled. Then she said something that made me gasp so hard I nearly dropped the phone. "It wasn't a mistake, Mrs. Dawson. Your boss, he swapped your baby." My knees gave way. The phone slipped from my hand. The room spun as my sons rushed to me, shouting my name. But all I could hear were those words echoing in my head. "He swapped your baby." It all began 30 years ago, in the small town of Brookdale. I was only 23 then, young and full of dreams. I had just started working as a secretary for a wealthy businessman named Mr. Walter Green. He owned a large farm, and I admired how confident and powerful he seemed. At that time, I was newly married to my husband, Thomas. We didn't have much, but we had love, and that was enough for me. When I found out I was pregnant, Thomas cried tears of joy. He built a small crib with his own hands. We didn't know yet that we were expecting triplets. The doctor said it was just one baby. Life was simple. Every day, I went to work, typing letters, answering calls, and bringing coffee to Mr. Walter. He was strict but kind. He always asked about my baby and offered advice, saying he had lost a child before. I thought he was just being caring. Then one rainy afternoon, everything changed. Mr. Walter called me into his office. He looked pale, his hands trembling. "Martha," he said softly, "my wife just lost our baby. She hasn't stopped crying. She blames me. I don't know what to do." I felt sorry for him. I didn't know what to say, so I just muttered, "I'm sorry, sir. That must be very hard." He nodded, staring into space. "You're lucky, Martha. You'll be a mother soon. You'll understand how it feels to lose a child." His words felt strange. The way he said them cold, yet desperate. Months later, I went into labor earlier than expected. It was a stormy night. The hospital lights flickered as thunder roared outside. I could hear nurses rushing through the hallways. When I finally gave birth, I fainted from exhaustion. When I woke up hours later, the nurse told me I had delivered 3 boys. 3. I was shocked. Thomas was overjoyed. But something felt off. One of the nurses, a young woman with curly hair, avoided my eyes when I asked to see my babies. And when I finally held them, one of the babies had a small birthmark on his wrist, shaped like a star. I remember touching it gently, whispering, "My little star." A few hours later, Mr. Walter came to visit me. He brought flowers and chocolates, smiling too warmly. Congratulations, Martha, he said. 3 healthy boys. You must be proud. I was, but I felt uneasy. Why was my boss here at midnight? Why did he look so nervous? After I went home, life was busy. Feeding, bathing, and raising 3 babies was hard, but beautiful. Thomas and I did our best. Years went by, and I forgot that strange night at the hospital. Until recently. A few months ago, I got sick and needed a blood transfusion. The doctor said none of my sons were a match. That didn't make sense. So, he suggested a DNA test just to double-check. That's when everything fell apart. When the results came in, they said I wasn't biologically related to any of my sons. Not one. I thought it was a mistake, but it wasn't. My whole world turned upside down. Now, sitting in my living room with the paper in my hands and Nurse Carol's voice still echoing in my ears, I realized the truth I had avoided all along. Mr. Walter didn't just lose a baby 30 years ago. He stole mine. And I was about to find out why. Just then, there was a loud knock at the door. The sound echoed through the house. My heart skipped a beat. Michael went to open it, but I stopped him. Wait, I whispered. Let me. I walked to the door slowly, my hands shaking. When I opened it, my breath caught in my throat. Standing there was a woman, around my age, holding a photo. And in that photo was a baby, with a small, star-shaped birthmark on his wrist. The woman at my door looked pale and weak, like someone who hadn't slept in days. Her eyes were red, and her hands trembled as she held out the photo. I froze. My throat went dry as my eyes focused on the picture. There it was again, that same tiny, star-shaped birthmark on the baby's wrist. I think this baby is yours, the woman whispered, tears welling in her eyes. I could hardly breathe. Who are you? I asked softly. My name is Laura Green, she said. I'm Mr. Walter's wife. It felt like the world stopped spinning. My heart thundered in my chest as she continued. I've lived with this secret for 30 years. My husband made me promise to keep quiet. But I can't live with the guilt anymore. She looked down, unable to meet my eyes. That night, when you gave birth, your real baby was taken. My husband told the nurse to switch the babies. He said he'd give her a lot of money. He wanted to replace our dead child with yours. I felt my knees weaken. The room seemed to spin again. My sons, my boys, stood frozen behind me, their faces pale and confused. Laura's voice cracked as she spoke. Your real son was raised by me. I always knew. Every time I looked at him, I saw you, Martha. I saw your eyes in his. But Walter said if I ever told anyone, he would ruin me. I stared at her, unable to find words. Where is he? I finally managed to whisper. Tears streamed down her face. He's at the hospital. He's been sick. He needs a kidney transplant. And you're the only match. My chest tightened. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. The baby I had carried for 9 months, the one who was stolen from me, was alive, but dying. Laura reached into her bag and pulled out another photo, this time of a young man. He had kind eyes, a gentle smile, and the same birthmark on his wrist. I dropped to my knees sobbing. Michael, my eldest, came to me and placed a hand on my shoulder. Mom, what does this mean? I wiped my tears and looked at my 3 sons. The ones I had raised, loved, and sacrificed everything for. It means, I said shakily, the man who gave me my job 30 years ago stole my baby. Laura fell to her knees beside me crying. Please, she begged. Come with me. He's asking for you. He wants to meet his real mother before it's too late. For a moment, everything went silent. Then, without a word, I grabbed my coat and followed her. We drove in silence through the cold night. My heart felt heavy, torn between the 3 boys I raised and the one I never got to know. When we reached the hospital, Laura led me to a room. I paused at the door, my hands trembling. Inside, lying on the hospital bed, was a young man with pale skin and tubes in his arms. He turned his head slowly and looked at me. When our eyes met, something deep inside me broke. He smiled faintly and whispered, Mom. I gasped, covering my mouth with my hand. Tears poured down my face. I wanted to run to him, to hold him, but my legs wouldn't move. That one word, Mom, was enough to melt every wall I had built around my heart. But before I could reach his side, the door burst open. Mr. Walters stood there, his face red with anger. "What do you think you're doing here, Laura?" he shouted. "And you, Martha, you have no right to be here." The room fell silent. My heart pounded as I looked into the eyes of the man who had stolen my life's joy. "Walter," I whispered, my voice trembling with rage. "You stole my baby." He glared at me, his jaw tight. "You don't understand. My wife was broken. She couldn't handle losing our son. I did what I had to do to save my family." "Save your family?" I shouted. "You destroyed mine." The nurse rushed in, trying to calm everyone down. Laura stood between us, crying. "Walter, please. She deserves to know the truth." He turned away, refusing to look at me. "You wouldn't have known the difference," he muttered. "You had 3 babies. You would have been fine." I slapped him. The sound echoed through the room. "Fine," I yelled, tears streaming down my face. "Do you know how many nights I stayed awake worrying about them? How many sacrifices I made? You stole my blood, my flesh, my child." The young man on the bed, my real son, started coughing. The monitor beeped faster. The doctor rushed in, urging everyone to step outside. Minutes later, we stood in the hallway waiting. My heart pounded so hard I thought it might burst. Laura sobbed quietly beside me. After what felt like forever, the doctor came out. "He's stable for now," he said. "But he needs a kidney transplant soon. Without it, he won't survive." I nodded quickly. "Take mine," I said without hesitation. The doctor blinked. "You're sure?" "I'm sure," I said. "He's my son." Laura reached for my hand and whispered, "Thank you." But before we could continue, Walter stormed out of the room, his face pale. "You can't do this," he barked. "That boy is mine. I raised him. You can't just take him away from me." I turned to him slowly, my voice shaking but strong. "You didn't raise him out of love, Walter. You raised him out of guilt." He froze. "You took what wasn't yours," I continued. "And now God is making you face it." Walter's face softened for a moment, the anger fading to regret. "I just wanted a son," he whispered. I looked at him sadly. "You had one. But he wasn't yours to take." Just then, a nurse ran out of the room. "We need the donor now," she shouted. "He's crashing." I gasped. The hallway blurred as panic filled my chest. I grabbed the nurse's arm. "I'll do it. Please, I'll do it now." She nodded and rushed me toward the operating room. My sons, the 3 I raised, ran after me calling, "Mom, we're coming with you." Tears filled my eyes. "No," I said, turning back to them. "You stay. Take care of each other. No matter what happens, you'll always be my sons." They hugged me tightly before I was wheeled away. As I lay on the stretcher, my heart was pounding not from fear, but from love. I was about to give life again to the son I never got to hold. The lights above me blurred as the anesthesia took effect. My last thought before darkness swallowed me was a prayer. "God, let me see him smile just once." When I woke up, everything was quiet. The smell of disinfectant filled the room. My throat was dry, and my body ached. I blinked slowly, trying to remember where I was. Then it hit me, the surgery. I turned my head weakly and saw a familiar face sitting beside me. It was Laura. Her eyes were puffy, but she was smiling. "You did it," she said softly. "The transplant was a success." Tears rolled down my cheeks. He's okay." She nodded. "He's resting. He wants to see you." She helped me sit up and guided me to his room. My steps were weak, but my heart was strong. When I walked in, the young man looked up and smiled. "Mom," he whispered again, this time with strength in his voice. I rushed to his bedside and took his hand. "My boy," I said, tears falling freely. "I'm so sorry. I didn't know. I should have fought harder." He shook his head weakly. "You didn't know. But you came for me. That's all that matters." I hugged him gently, feeling his heartbeat against mine. 30 years of pain, loss, and lies seemed to melt away in that one embrace. The door opened quietly. My 3 sons stepped inside, their faces soft and full of emotion. Michael spoke first, his voice trembling. "Mom, is he really our brother?" I nodded. "Yes. He's your brother. Blood or not, All of you are my sons." They walked closer, surrounding the bed. For the first time, all four of them, the boys I raised and the boy I lost, were together. Laura stood by the door, crying softly. Walter wasn't there. I heard later that he had confessed everything to the police. Guilt had finally broken him. As I looked at my sons, I smiled through tears. "Family," I whispered, "isn't just who you're born with. It's who you love, who you sacrifice for." The young man, my real son, smiled weakly. "I love you, Mom." "I love you too, sweetheart," I said. Outside, the morning sun began to rise, bathing the room in soft golden light. It felt like a new beginning for all of us. And as the light touched my face, I whispered to myself, "For 30 years, I believed they were my sons, but now, I know what being a mother truly means." Sometimes the people we call our children aren't tied to us by blood, but by love, sacrifice, and the moments we share. If this story touched your heart, don't forget to like, leave a comment, and subscribe for more emotional grandma stories. Your support helps keep these heartfelt stories alive. Red Heart.